Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Hey, Primatech peeps! Welcome back to the Primatech Files, a Southgate Media Group podcast dedicated to the hit show Heroes, and also looking forward to the new show Heroes Reborn, a continuation of that story. I'm Lil, and on the hunt for specials with me, as always, is one of them.
Ricky, I am one of them. She is one of them. No, you are one of us. But if I say you're one of us, then that makes you seem like you're one of them. So, anyway.
Circular logic! Hashtag inside joke from last week's episode. So, yeah, up for discussion today is episode 304. I Am Become Deaf, the worst Heroes title since 0.07%.
Yes. Or 0.7% if you read it wrong. So, yeah.
Let's just jump right into the recap. The original air date for this is October 6, 2008. It was written by longtime collaborator Aaron E. Coletti, and it was directed by David Von Ecken. Yeah,
sounds good enough.
Good enough. So, what about the synopsis, sir?
Future Claire hunts down Peter, who gains Gabriel's ability and his hunger in order to save the world. Tracy finds out about her origins while Mahinda learns the side effects of his power. Hero and Ando try to break out of the company prison and meet Angela Petrelli and have to dig Adam Monroe back up.
Ooh.
I know, right?
So, major players and major plot points. We're dealing with a lot of Peter traveling to a quote-unquote very different future. We see Matt looking into a very similar future of his own. Tracy learns more about her past from the mysterious, creepy Dr. Zimmerman. And, Mohinder experiences some unexpected side effects of his formula. Personally, I blame it on Maya. He got freaky with Maya, and that's what caused it.
You're just saying that it's just an allegory for STDs.
I'm saying! He gets rid of her, he gets better. I'm just saying!
So you're saying it's not superhero powers he gets, it's gonorrhea.
Hey, that's one theory. I could be wrong. Tensions also grow between Ando and Hero, unfortunately, because y'all know I love this bro TP almost as much as I love making fun of Petrelli's Fest. So, let's get down to the breakdown. What character would you like to start with?
I don't want to start with a breakdown. I want to start with a thought that I had about this. So, in, seasons 1 and 2, they've put this kind of future/past episode into the middle of the show, into episode 8 or episode 9, and it's given you time to think about what's going to happen, and it kind of gives you tidbits, and then you don't find out until much later on. Whereas here it's the 4th episode in, and they're essentially just giving you it straight away, and they haven't given you enough time to think about it, and I think that it's a poor choice of putting it so close into the beginning, because you're still trying to get used to this new world that Heroes is trying to create, and it doesn't feel as good as the previous 2 episodes, if you get me. As in, the previous 2 past-present episodes.
Yeah. Oh, I should probably back up, because there are a few important people, places, and things we need to know about. Actually... So, we're dealing with the exposed future. We are slowly but surely learning more about the genetic modification formula. We see a future Haitian, a future Daphne, a future Knox, a future Mohinder. We meet a sweet little boy named Noah Gray, future Gabriel, future Matt, a little sweet baby named Daniela Parkman, future Molly, future Nathan, future Tracy, a guy named Matt Spatney, Mrs. Spatney, and of course, Barbara. I knew it. Is it that Barbara? I think it's that Barbara. Maybe that's... like I said, I've rewatched this twice by now. Yeah. And it is from one of those pictures that you were talking about.
Okay.
She's got like braids. She looks.
Yeah.
She thinks she's Bo Derek. She wears her hair in a twist. Oh, Jay-Z reference. So yeah, those are the things that we need to know, and we'll just kind of actually talk about all of this as the breakdown unfolds.
Yeah. I don't think we should really talk about like pairings or people and stuff. I think we should just talk about the future and the present day, because I think it's a good kind of separation point. So yeah. So shall we start with present day and then go into the future, or should we start?
Let's talk about present.
So present day, all they're doing is setting up stuff for the future, really. So you've obviously got Mahinda kind of kind of disintegrating because of his powers, and you know they kind of reveal more in the future. But yeah, I didn't really like this Mahinda kind of story. I didn't like him getting powers, the story, but you know it's him still trying to be a hero because he's taking out like quote unquote villains, like the people upstairs who, you know, never get involved. I'm sorry, like call the cops if you have to, but never in a domestic dispute. Never. Even the cops will tell you that's their worst call next to getting pulled over, because there's just so many unknown elements. Like call the cops if you have to. Do not go up there under any circumstances. That is my PSA. Yeah. The more you know.
Hey, yeah, and it's an NBC thing. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was messed up. Heroes is getting #rapey and violent. This is not cool.
Next up, we can kind of talk about Tracy, I suppose, because she learns more about her past and her powers. And I think in the present, like, she's racked with guilt, obviously because of her powers, and her powers are linked to her emotions, which is what Mahinda's kind of told us kind of happens because of the adrenal gland, because you know she's only ever used her powers in great distress. Like in the first episode, in the first time they manifested was because of the reporter. The second time they kind of manifested was when she was trying
Isn't it weird? Like she's like what, in her mid-30s at this point or something like that, and she's never been in such distress that her powers haven't manifested before. I think it was the trigger word. I think with them, they have a trigger word, and hers was, "You are an ice queen." And as soon as that was said, her powers manifested. But yeah, I'm joking, obviously. But yeah, I think that's strange as well. So, you know, what can you do? You have to introduce them somehow. But I think she's kind of a version, like she's this season's version of Ted. It sounds weird, but stick with me on this, because, you know, it's someone whose powers manifested and it killed someone. But whereas Ted blamed other people for it, like for his wife dying, he blamed the company for it because he thought that they gave him the powers. She instantly blames herself. And which is weird, because they actually did give her the power. Exactly. And it's, you know, she blames herself so much that she tries to kill herself. And obviously she gets her own private Superman to save her. But yeah, I also think that kind of... Super schmuck to the rescue! The whole bit about her being a set of triplets confused me on the first watch, because I was like, so wait, they've talked about Niki and Tracy and this Barbara, but what about Jessica? But yeah, they kind of retcon that in a... Right? Because I could have sworn that they were twins, but then it's like, no, she was like her older sister or something. And I'm just like... Yeah. Whatever. Because I thought it was just like... When they kind of retconned it, I thought it was like a split in her personality. It's like how she got over like the domestic abuse from her father. But then when we rewatched it, I was like, oh wait, there's an actual like grave. So yeah, anyway. Oh, heroes, you tried it. She, you know, it leads her to Dr. Zimmerman, and he's giving her some answers, and then she like wants to know, and he goes, what company hired him? And he goes, I can't remember. You're like, aha, patience. She kills him too. Yeah. No, she doesn't, but she should have. She freezes his arm, and then the freezing subsides as she calms herself. Anyway, so yeah, I like that Tracy's proactive, that she's going after those answers, and she's not just waiting by the phone for somebody to figure it out for her. That's like definitely a big improvement, because Niki was kind of just, oh, whatever am I to do?
Yeah.
And I think maybe they were aware of how crappy they were writing women, so they were like, oh, we'll give Allie Letter something better to do now.
She was a nice little mix of Jessica and Niki. She had that kind of whininess about her, like that kind of whiny emo-ness about her, where like the bit where she's on the phone and she's just crying a lot. But then they also had the proactiveness of Jessica, just going out and getting what she needs or what she wants. So yeah,
guns a-blazing.
I know, right?
Oh, can we talk about how Future Peter is so much different than Future Hero?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if the things got, like, the graphics got better, they got a better special effects scene, but, like, Future Peter and Present Day Peter just walking side by side, having a conversation, interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, really?
Yeah, because season 1, they didn't want them in the same room as each other. They had to go, oh. And I was like, you're scared of yourself? Okay, I'll go talk to you while you hang back. But yeah. Obviously, it got a lot better. So we might as well just go straight into the future, because that's pretty much everything the main kind of plot points we had to talk about in the past.
As Matt and in Africa.
Yeah, but he's kind of in the future as well. I find that whole thing strange, that Matt's got his own little painter who's just obsessed with him. It's a bit creepy, isn't it?
I told you this in the previous one. It's like, dude, the magical Negro's dreaming about his white savior. Like, it just totally rubbed me the wrong way. And that Parkman of all people. Like, I love me some Parkman, but really? That's your personal savior? Okay. We see how you ended up.
I guess we'll start off with present/future Peter, and it's just what?
Traveling 4 years into the future.
And everyone's got powers, but I don't know how they set it up. Like, was it people had paid for powers, and that's how they got them?
Yeah.
It seemed like it was only...
There were people who paid for them, stole them, did whatever it took to get them. Yeah.
So it just seems like something, a monetary thing, but yeah.
Which seems to be going into Heroes Reborn territory.
Yep, definitely. Basically, Future Peter is saying you can not repeat the same mistakes I did.
Like, he asks his future self why he can't do it, and he goes, I've stepped on too many butterflies. And he's like, you gotta go to Siler for help. And he's like, what? And then brown hair, no care Claire comes into the Haitian stops Future Peter from regenerating, but present day Peter escapes. And then we see Claire standing over Future Peter's dead body when Daphne and Knox come into that little room.
Yes.
And then Daphne says to Claire, you finally killed Peter. And I'm like, wait, it's only been a year. He's a wily little bastard. And she's like, there's another Peter that's still around, and I have to kill him too. And then they go, well, we can call Molly, because she can find anybody. And she's like, well, I don't really want to bother, Matt with that. And we're just like, what?
I'd also want to say, brown hair don't care. I love brown hair don't care. But straight blonde hair on Daphne, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of the haircut. I missed her, like, bleach blonde, scraggly kind of hair with, like, the occasional braid in it. But, yeah, that's besides the point.
Hippy dippy Daphne.
I know, right?
So, yeah, then they go, yeah, we got to find him. And because if we don't, Peter's never going to stop. Sure, we see Peter go to Mohinder, who is, like, gets startled. And we hear all that little snakes, reptilian stuff going on in the back. And he's like, he wants to know about Siler. And he's like, Mohinder's staying in the shadows. And then Mohinder keeps scuttling away. And then he's like, what happened to you? And he's like, I wanted abilities, but I got the formula wrong. And then he's like, I can help you. Just tell me where Siler is. And then Mohinder tells him that Siler's ability is dangerous. He knows this from personal experience, obviously. But Peter decides to read Mohinder's mind anyway to find Siler's location and teleports away. Which he ends up in Costa Verde in the old Bennett/Butler house. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Really? He's creepy in the shadows, and we've known that he got the formula wrong. And he's like a bad guy now.
Yeah. So he ends up at the new Grey household, we'll just call it, and is shocked to find a child there, and even more and even more shocked to find a domesticated Gabriel Grey with a nice little callback with the presidential apron on and making waffles, because you know how much Heroes writers love waffles. So yeah.
And shouldn't Mr. Muggles be dead?
Yeah.
That dog was pretty old already. I'm just saying. Little dogs live a little less than bigger dogs. So anyway, so yeah, then Siler like hugs him, and he's like, "What the?"
Yeah, it's
like you should have told me you were coming. I would have made you extra. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
But it's a nice little reversal. But to make the kid extra sweet, we have to give him a little bit of a speech impediment. So yeah, he's like, Uncle Peter, how come? Where's your scar? So yeah, that kind of gets alarm bells in Gabriel, and they retreat to the playroom. And Siler's all smiley, closes the door, turns round, and he just has that Siler face, like, who are you? Oh, yeah, I really liked it. It was a really nice switch between, like, you know, domesticated Gabriel to kind of Silery kind of persona.
Then they start painting the future. God, just bring them back if you want to do this. And then, like, Gabriel asks Peter to make sure Noah doesn't see him use his ability, and he goes all Isaac heroin chic. Oh, God. So we cut to another future, Matt's little spirit walk vision thingy. And Matt is arguing, well, I don't know. Is this supposed to be one continuous thing? I don't know anymore.
It's very confusing, this. Is it one? Is it two? But either way, he's having an argument with
Daphne while holding a baby.
Yeah.
About working for Pinehurst. And she's like, oh, just ask Molly to find Peter. And he's like, but he's a murderer and a terrorist. And I'm like, oh, Matt, you're always on the wrong side of things. Better not be on the wrong side of things in Heroes Reborn. Then Daphne pleads that if Molly helps, then it'll all end. But he's like, I just want Molly to be normal. And I'm like, well, she's not normal. She's been so traumatized. One more thing is not going to hurt. So, yeah. So we come to find out they're married. They have a baby, and they're really in love. And so
but it doesn't seem like they are, does it? Like, there's
not really.
It's that whole kind of thing of like knowing the future and feel the fact that they didn't like let the chemistry happen between people. They just kind of forced it upon not just the characters but us. And should I be invested in them because they're telling me to, or not? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these guys, that kind of storyline kind of felt untrue to me, and it wasn't until much later on in the kind of season that I started believing them as you know, a couple. But that's only after time. It's not straight away you're telling me.
It never worked for me, ever. It was like Janice 2.0. She's just and she has powers to boot, so she's a nag, and she always wants Matt to do stuff, and it's just like, ugh, go away, Daphne. Anyway, so she finally gets what they need, and then Daphne exits the apartment, and brown hair, no care Claire is standing out there. And she's like,
they have to go to Costa Verde.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, he's with Siler. And then Knox is like, are you scared? And Claire's like, yeah, I just killed my uncle and I have to do it again. Daphne's like standing up for her or whatever. And then he's like, hey, you better be sure because, hey, you might not be able to get hurt, but we all can. I'm just like, well, somebody finally called Claire on her BS.
I know, right? And she's saying how she doesn't feel, but she obviously feels fear at Siler, so that should make her feel human. But yeah, that's besides the point. But yeah.
Well, back in Costa Verde, Gabriel is finishing a painting that shows the world being destroyed. And he goes, oh, here we go again. He removes his watch. Peter sees the Siler name. And Gabriel notes that the watch is a scar. And he wants Peter to fix it. And Gabriel goes, you know, if you can fix this, this is how I access my ability. And once you know how to do this, everything will come together. And so Peter actually fixes it with the power of telekinesis, and Gabriel tells him to see the cause and effects of the gears, and that's how you can figure out how to fix the future. I'm just like, ugh.
I kind of like that, though, the fact that they had to explain that Peter couldn't just naturally absorb Siler's power. He had to do something specific in order to gain the ability of the hunger.
That's weird, though.
Not really, because Siler's always known how powers work.
Yeah, that's his natural power.
Yeah, and I think him being able to stop people from absorbing it is a natural extension of that. I liked it.
Well, you know how I feel about canon and people screwing with continuity, but okay. I mean, it makes sense. It's like Siler finds workarounds for everything, so yeah, naturally it should be a workaround for that too, but whatever. What else happens? The whole gang shows up. Claire's like really pissed. She's like, this used to be my house. You messed me up for life. They're like, she's like, you're not really going to kill a little kid, are you? I don't think that they were planning to, but that's what happens. And it causes Gabriel to go off the deep end
Yeah.
and blow up all of Costa Verde.
Yep. Kind of like Odessa. I got all confused.
Saying! Daphne races home to Matt, but she wasn't fast enough.
That was definitely...
Everybody else survives except for Silas. Well, no, Silas survives too, right? Because
no, Silas.
He has Claire's power.
Oh, I'd assume so, but they never bring him back. Like, Knox didn't survive.
Yeah, Knox, obvious. But Peter does, and Claire does.
Mm. So.
And she actually manages to get him, right?
Yes. She gets him, and they end up talking while she's kind of torturing him. Obviously, she can torture him because the Haitian's there, so he's blocking the power. Then President Nathan, he finally got his presidential win. How he got his presidential win, I don't know.
We'll never know.
Yeah, but yeah, he comes in, starts trying to talk reason to Peter, giving a slight shout out to a future with the army. That, you know, it doesn't make sense that they're going to create an army of specials to combat a load of other specials, but yeah.
Well, what is that? What is that saying? Fight fire with fire or whatever. That's a very American thing, especially in our political and diplomacy policies. So I guess I can kind of see that. They make stupid choices.
Yeah. In my view, they've changed Silas' powers in relation to Peter. Because Peter at any point can get someone's powers, so he doesn't really need that aspect of it. And his hunger is more seeing how people's minds work. And that's what leads him to start trying to kill Nathan. Like, he's basically saying, I want to see how it works, how you work. And that's why...
Oh, no! Okay, so Siler in the present day, in a couple episodes from now, takes the ability to tell if somebody's lying. Yeah. I feel like Peter absorbed all those other powers as well. And so when because he basically says, you're lying.
Yeah.
But what's the motivation behind you lying?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, damn.
Oh, yeah.
This kid's off the deep end.
But I don't understand because, you know, he can still, at the end of the day, he should still be able to read people's minds. But, you know, it's obviously the hunger's taking him over. So, yeah. He starts to take off Nathan's head. He kind of snaps out of it quickly enough because he stops. And then he goes back to present day and just so happens to end up at level 5 where Sylar is. And we have another Sylar-Peter face-off.
At least this one's slightly better.
Yeah, definitely.
That ends all the future stuff, right?
Yeah.
Besides Matt going on the journey and he's simultaneously dreaming about the future, and at the same time that Peter's in the future.
Yes.
Is that why future Peter sent him to the desert? I don't know. We'll
never know.
I'm all confused.
But I do like there's constant allusions to like season 1 in the future, like when he goes to Isaac's Mahinder's loft apartment type thing in the future, Peter sees the paintings from season 1 and Sylar calls himself, or Gabriel calls himself the boogeyman. So yeah, they've got that, and then they've got like little allusions and little lines which I'll bring up in the trivia. But yeah, I kind of liked this episode, but at the same time I just feel it was too quick to come into the story. I think they could have left it for a couple more episodes before bringing us here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they obviously felt that they needed to bring big reveals in straight away and answer questions straight away. I just think it was a bit too early, but yeah.
Okay, so let's just wrap up Matt's thing. After he comes out of that whole future, seeing the destruction of Costa Verde and Daphne dying, he notices the picture of him holding a woman, and he goes, that's the girl, I have to find her, we're going to have a life. And then Usutu tells him that the world, it's a big world with lots of people, and that Matt must find his totem to guide him on his journey. Matt asks if the totem is some African mojo thing. Racist. But Usutu tells him it's actually from an analytical psychologist, Carl Jung. And he tells Matt that a totem is normally an animal, and he must think about his dream. Matt turns to see the turtle, and then begins to follow it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we cut to Angela, who sits with Ando and Hiro. She wants to know what Kaito's half the formula is, and Ando wonders why it's so important. Angela tells Ando that it turns normal people like Ando into people like her and Hiro. Hiro tells her that it was stolen, and Angela tells him that they have both halves now. So she tells Hiro that Kaito loved Hiro very much and had great faith in him to be a great man. However, she thinks Kaito was mistaken and that Hiro's mess up is the downfall of mankind. And I'm like, well, she's not wrong. He's trying to apologize, but then Ando stops him. They won't stop until the world is saved. Angela notes that someone powerful is manipulating things and that Hero is the one that holds the key to saving them, per usual. So then we see them in Japan digging up a coffin from the ground, and Ando's like, dude, is this a good idea? He's like, we have no other choice. I'm like, sure you do. Opens the coffin and out pops Adam Monroe. And then, like, we see just a hand grab his throat, and that's how we end the episode. The future is confusing and not very bright at this point in Hero's timeline.
Definitely.
I'm getting nervous. So, yeah. Best character?
I'm going to have to go with Sylar, because it's... Well, not Sylar. I'm going to have to go with Gabriel Gray.
Future Sylar.
Yeah, Gabriel Gray, because I just think it's, you know, him as a good guy. This is what we could have got. Like, this is what they've always been aiming for, to kind of turn him into a good guy. Like, make you feel a bit more sympathetic. And I think it's, obviously, it's the child of Noah Gray who is able to make him, you know, stop the hunger because of his child. And him dying is what sets him off again.
Who was the baby's mama, though?
I think we can find out from, like, the kind of next couple of episodes. But it's all speculation.
Yeah, it is all speculation. They never really said.
Yeah. How about you?
I like crazy, deranged future Peter after he gets the hunger from Gabriel. So.
Oh, you mean present day?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
No, he kind of is badass in the next episode, but yeah, we'll get to that. Best
character interactions.
I'm going to have to go with present day Peter and future Sylar, because it's so, like, that's exactly how we're feeling. Like, oh, what the hell's going? Oh, wait, you're a good guy? It's a great kind of role reversal in them. Sylar's there saying, you know, you can't have my power, you wouldn't be able to handle it, basically. And Peter...
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, how about you?
I kind of agree with you. And I think it's like overall, retrospectively, when you view the whole series and you feel like this is definitely... You can see that this is the particular turning point that they want for Sylar. And they go full on for it for the rest of the series. So I like that. It makes me feel like they did have a plan. And, like, it just makes me sad and ponder about what could have been. Best scene.
I think, even though it's in the future, I think it's going to have to be Sylar blowing up. Just for the sheer, like, world consequences of everything with the show. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we've finally seen something happen. You know, we kind of see the apocalyptic future, but we've never seen what really happened. We always see the effects of something happening. We've never seen actually the devastation of it actually happening, and just seeing Sylar blow up, and then the news footage of, like, the massive hole in Costa Verde. I think it's a great visual, and it kind of shows you the grand scope of what's coming or what could happen. So yeah, how about you?
I like that scene a lot, but I think my favorite scene has to be present day Peter meeting future Mohinder, because it's like, oh my god, are they really gonna go full blown and have Mohinder be a villain? Like, that would be a good twist, because I mean, what do they say? The path to hell is paved with good intentions, and nobody in this series has had more good intentions outside of Mohinder, maybe Peter, but Mohinder, you can definitely see him turning himself into an accidental villain. He kind of reminds me of one of my favorite comic book characters, which is Man-Bat, aka Kirk Langstrom, who experimented on himself and turned him into this really gruesome creature, but tries to do some good with it. I like comic book parallels, that's all. Nerd alert! Do you have any lines that you want to share?
If you tell me you were coming, I would have made extra.
I don't want none of your stinking lines. Let's see. Oh, Adam Monroe to Hero. You son of a...
To be continued. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was feeling about Hero at that point, too. So.
The only kind of little bits of trivia I've got are stuff which are references to Volume 1. So obviously there's Gabriel exploding and blowing up Costa Verde, which is what, you know, Peter was meant to do. Claire tells Peter, trying to teleport, not with my friend here, just as Noah had said to Matt in Collision. There's obviously footage from Peter's dream in Genesis. Future Peter says, steps on too many butterflies, which is a callback to the second episode.
And a foreshadowing season 4.
Exactly. So yeah, that's all I'm really going to bring up.
Okay, one more thing I guess I'll bring up. The title, I Am Become Death, is a reference made to J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, following the first test in New Mexico.
Okay. Do you have any highlights or lowlights?
Oh, man. I totally dig the special effects for Costa Verde being blown to smithereens. Like one of my favorite things ever. I like the confrontation of Team Pinehurst versus, the Petrelli brothers.
Yeah, the only thing I've got is a kind of a low light, and it's Daphne at the door, standing there for about a minute, and then saying I wasn't fast enough, and then kind of collapsing. I just thought it was really too cheesy and too campy, but that's just personal preference.
I think my low light is that, like, while usually I really like smart literary references, I don't think that it was a smart literary reference with Mohinder's metamorphosis into a fly. Obviously, it's kind of a allusion to Frank Kafka's Metamorphosis. It's just like... Yeah. And like I said, the movie The Fly is so ridiculous. Let's stop, like, using that. Like, it makes me laugh, and I don't think I should be laughing at that point because something really bad is happening to Mohinder, and I don't like it. But I can't help but laugh.
They did kind of destroy Mohinder a bit in this season, especially after all the great storylines they gave him in the previous season. He was that kind of morally grey character, and here he's just kind of...
slowly becoming blacker and blacker.
Yeah.
Well, darker and darker, but yeah.
What about grades?
Grades?
Yeah.
God. This is my least favorite future episode, I guess, because we don't really spend a lot of time. Like, we do, but we don't. You know what I mean? Like, we're focusing on Siler, a character I really don't give two jots about. So, I'm going to go with another C. I'll do a C. Just a solid C.
I think I'm going to have to go with a C/C minus, because I think if they had just concentrated on the future, it would have been better, as opposed to like switching us back and forth. Like, they've done those kind of episodes before where they deal with present, past and future, and it all kind of flows together, whereas this one kind of just doesn't. I think we should have either spent more time in the future or just all the time in the present in the episode, because the future, like, episodes should inform where you're going, and it should give you time to breathe, but it just all felt really rushed. They did some good things, like Mohinder talking about his powers, putting the tape down, and then it just, like, becoming more and more dusty, and then we were in the future. Stuff like that was good, but other stuff just didn't really work out.
They should have left Matt out and had Peter dreaming about that, and then telling Matt, hey, if you want to save this girl, you have a baby together in the future. I still say Matt Parkman for third Petrelli brother.
Oh, Matt Petrelli. Cool.
All right. Any other discussion points you want to talk about besides the graphic novel?
No, not really. I'll just go straight into the graphic novel. The graphic novel's called Resistance, and it's just a background into future Claire. We kind of learn more about her. Both her parents have died. Sad face. She works for Pinehurst, and something happens. Everyone dies apart from her, because obviously, she can't die. And it kind of gives you the thought that her having to die over and over again is what's led to her kind of loss of humanity, not the fact that Siler put that into her head. And at the end of it, she kind of realizes that Peter is behind everything that's going on with Pinehurst, and she feels betrayed at Peter. So yeah, that's basically what leads us into this kind of brown hair don't care Claire.
So let's see. The Easter egg for this is a behind-the-scenes image of Bria Grant, a.k.a. Daphne Millbrook. The story was by Bill Hooper. And then the art was, we had a return of Michael Goodell doing the artwork, so that's always fun. Look for Soma somewhere in this.
The only trivia we have is that there is a password for Stephen Canfield's Primatech assignment tracker. So yeah.
So it looks like we are just about done.
So I've got not feedback, but it's I've been going back and forth with this guy on the DMs called at Papa's Ben. His name is Benjamin, and he basically thinks that Carlos is going to have the power of telekinesis, because from the trailer you can see someone using the power of telekinesis on a woman, and he thinks that it's Carlos. But he also thinks that the woman that it's being used on is Molly, because she's wearing exactly the same dress from the motion posters that they've been releasing. So it's a decent enough theory. So yeah.
And my theory is that Carlos is Siler 2.0, but like how Siler would have been had the end of season 4 kept going, how they tried to make him good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Since they can't get ZQ back.
The following people tweeted along with us. They were either tweeting, retweeting, or faving. I have soft_guitar 60, State to State T-Boy, Lucio Bailey, Mike Schmidt 09, Nemesis HD, Cinzia 667, and English Idiot 101.
Looks like it's time for some shameless plugs and self-promotion. We'll start with the show contact info. We here at Primatech Files love listener feedback. If you would like to get a hold of us, we have a ton of ways. You can email us via primatechfiles@gmail.com. You can leave us a private message or interact with our posts over on facebook.com/primatechfiles. We live tweet 2 episodes per week every Saturday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information, be sure to follow us on Twitter at PrimatechFiles. You can also find us on Clamor, Tumblr, and YouTube by simply searching for Primatech Files. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. What's that? You don't have an iTunes account? That's okay. We're on a lot of podcatcher services such as Stitcher and SoundCloud. All you have to do is search for, you guessed it, Primatech Files. We're also on Libsyn, and if you want to follow our RSS feed there, all you have to do is go to primatechfiles.libsyn.com and bookmark the site to stay up to date with this podcast. Libsyn is spelled Libsyn, just in case you were wondering. We look forward to interacting with you.
If you love our podcast, be sure to check out Southgate Media Group's iTunes provider page to see a list of what other podcasts are hot and trending in our network. Or you can take that one step further and visit southgatemediagroup.com, where you can find a full list of our 80-plus podcasts, along with weekly blogs and information about all the hosts. With so many podcasts that cover everything from anime to wrestling, there's sure to be tons of podcasts that could interest you.
Hey guys, you should know by now that you can find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire. If you have a Tumblr, be sure to check out it's lilithhellfire.tumblr.com. And of course, be sure to swing by my blog if you are a pop culture junkie or comic book geek at littlepopculturevulture.blogspot.com. I also host several other podcasts on the Southgate Media Group network. Some of them are The Flashpoint, Queen Consolidated, and Channel 52. So if you are into, obviously, DC comic book related stuff, be sure to check it out.
You can find my writings at tvbinges.com. It's a place for all your binge watching needs, and you can also create your own TV binge and we'll help promote it. We do a monthly binge watch, which you're more than welcome to join in. Just go to their Twitter at tvbinges just to find out more information. You can find me on Twitter at RickyJDiaz. That's RICKYJDIAZ, or Z if you're American.
Well, that's all we have for you on this installment of Primatech Files. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion of 304 I Am Become Dev. Please remember to keep sending in those emails. Don't be afraid to leave us some comments on our Facebook post. And join in on the weekly live streams when you can. Ricky, take us out of here.
Download the podcast Save the World.